What is one of the biggest challenges buyers face in the subcompact crossover market at around $30,000? It isn't the fact these vehicles are expensive, it's not that they're not efficient, it's the fact that they lack quite a bit in regards to maybe styling or performance, or better yet, the interior quality and refinement. Well, Mazda has a solution for you, and over the last 4 years, we have seen this model become quite popular in the lineup. Today, we'll be taking a look at the Preferred trim, a trim that comes in just below $30,000. While you are missing out on some amenities, I do think it is a great value. And in today's video, we're going to take an in-depth look at the Preferred trim. Check out what it's offering here at around $30,000, and also see why, if you are looking at buying an affordable subcompact crossover right now, maybe going with the Mazda CX-30 might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Ira Mazda in Westwood, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the CX-30. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Mazda inventory. So as always, let's begin with pricing. For 2025 with the Preferred trim, you're looking at a starting cost of right around $29,000. Now, for a lot of competitors in this segment, $29,000 gets you close to the top among the trim levels. Not necessarily for the CX-30, because you can go with the premium, but then also you have the turbo models, which will put you right around $35,000, if not more. With the Preferred though, I think this is the value trim in the lineup. You might not see that from the outside. It's going to be mostly for the interior and the features that you receive. But at around $30,000, you are getting quite a bit here. And with Mazda, the name of the game for this brand is to be somewhat upscale, to be somewhat luxurious, and to set the tone for this market. A lot of manufacturers with their subcompacts, they're not going to be the most enjoyable. They're not even really going to feel all that well refined, even at $30,000. Definitely reflective of where we are right now in the 2020s. But with the CX-30, you at least have an option where you could go with a vehicle that not only feels a bit more grand, but also looks upscale as well. So let's first start off with the front fascia. So up front, you are going to find full LED headlights and LED turn signal indicators. One thing I do want to point out here, though, with the CX-30 is that by going with the Preferred, you don't get the adaptive headlight system that's only found on higher trims. It's not going to be a make or break deal. You might not even notice it at all, but I just wanted to put that out there for you guys if you are looking at buying a CX-30 this year. Now, by going with the Preferred, you are going to have a lot more chrome accents. You see that for the outline of the front grille. I love the gloss black look there as well. Nice color contrasting accents that I do think goes a long way for a vehicle at around $30,000. Now, also that chrome outlines the bottom portion of the headlights and really lets you know that Mazda is focused on giving you a vehicle that is striking and also appealing to look at. Then as you make your way over to the side profile, it's all about that cladding. That is what's going to draw a lot of your attention. But keep in mind here that with the Mazda CX-30, it takes a lot of design elements from the Mazda 3 hatchback. So they can't have two vehicles look like they're the exact same model. So there's at least some differentiation there in the lineup. By going with the Preferred, you are going to have 18-inch alloy wheels, which look really nice on this model. And I have to say, even though they are 18s, ride quality and ride comfort is not going to be diminished at all with this tire size. You are going to receive body color matching side mirror caps with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. And also matching what you have up front, you will have the chrome accents for the roof rails and also what outlines the windows. Then as you make your way around to the back, you will have full LED taillights. Nice little touch there for a vehicle in this segment. Not a lot of manufacturers give you full LED taillights at around $30,000, so I'm really glad to see that for this model. For the lower portion of the rear bumper, that cladding once again is extremely aggressive, but for me though, I absolutely love that the exhaust outlets are visible and not tucked beneath the bumper. And I know a lot of manufacturers are doing that to have more of a cleaner look, but even for a naturally aspirated CX-30, this looks really nice. And then once again, pointing out that the Mazda CX-30 does take a lot of design elements from the Mazda 3 hatchback it's based on. You are going to have a nice sporty and aggressive rear spoiler here in a gloss black finish. And while we're taking a look at the rear fascia, might as well go over the cargo area for the 2025 Mazda CX-30. With the Preferred, unfortunately, you are not going to receive a power liftgate. so you might want to spend just a little bit extra and go with the premium if you want that extra convenience. Behind the second row seats, you're looking at right on 20.2 cubic feet of room, which isn't the most practical in this market, but on par with the Subaru Crosstrek and other smaller subcompacts in this segment. Now, I was able to fit all my camera gear today, no problem. So that's 3 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod. And there's a lot more room to stack on more items as well. So if you're someone who does live in the city and need a smaller, more compact vehicle, this will be a great choice because it still is going to give you the interior space that you are looking for. Then with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right on 45.2 cubic feet of room. Once again, falling right in line with that Subaru Crosstrek, but just keep in mind that it's not going to be as practical as some of its competitors. And lastly, beneath the floor mat, you are going to find a spare tire. So if you encounter a flat on your road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. Taking a quick peek under the hood for the 2025 Mazda CX-30 Preferred, you are going to receive a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, producing 191 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission, and better yet, all-wheel drive does come standard for better year-round capability and versatility. Now, with the CX-30 though, you do have 2 powertrain options. This naturally aspirated 4-cylinder and a 2.5-liter turbo. If you want to spend just a little bit extra and have a bit more fun, go with the turbo. However, with the Preferred, with it being a vehicle under $30,000 to start, you're also going to get a crossover that is economical and fuel efficient. So with the Preferred, you are going to receive right around 26 miles per gallon in the city and 33 miles per gallon on the highway. That is a bit better than what you're going to find with that 2.5-liter turbo. So if you're someone focusing on the economical aspects out of your next daily driver, stick with the naturally aspirated. But also with this particular model though, it's not going to break the bank. So it's checking off many boxes there with this particular trim. Hopping inside the CX-30 Preferred, this right here is why I chose this trim. You have a long list of amenities and creature comforts that might actually surprise you at around $30,000. So let's first start off with these seats. We have heated leatherette seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side having 2-position memory for added convenience and power adjustability, whereas the passenger will have to manually find the ideal seating position. We see a lot of this in the subcompact crossover market, especially at this price point. These seats are really plush, they're comfortable, and more importantly, they're supportive. Now, obviously, they're not sports seats, so they're not going to have the aggressive bolstering, but this should be more than adequate for a daily driver and for someone just looking for a comfortable subcompact crossover. Also, we do have the grayish interior, which is really nice here. The two-tone interior makes this vehicle feel a bit more upscale and luxurious. We don't typically find this at around $30,000, and more specifically for Mazda, this is what they do best. They give you an interior that looks nice, that looks appealing, that looks appeasing, and with the soft touch materials on the dashboard, door panels, even the center console, that will go a long way. It makes the CX-30 feel somewhat luxury-like. In front of you will be a leather-wrapped steering wheel, unfortunately not heated, which I wish we did have on a nice cold day like today. We have aggressive 10-2 and firm 9-3 grips. Now, sadly, no paddle shifters, but that's to be expected for a vehicle in this market. In front of you will be analog gauges and a small information display in the center, and by pressing down on the info button, you can scroll through a bit of information here. This is not going to be super in-depth or intuitive, so keep all of that in mind. But a lot of vehicles in this segment, such as the Subaru Crosstrek, are going to have similar layouts here. Taking a look at the infotainment system, you will have an 8-inch screen here with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. Keep in mind that on higher trims, such as the Premium, you'll receive the larger 10-inch screen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And on top of that, a 12-speaker Bose audio system. So if you're someone who likes listening to music and you want to have just a bit more of that enjoyment being behind the wheel, I would say go with the Premium at the very least. With the Preferred, you're still getting quite a bit here. Now, one thing I do like, though, with this screen is that even though it isn't a touchscreen, you have quick access buttons and a rotary dial on the center console. I just wish Mazda would integrate a touchscreen functionality for this head unit. Maybe push the screen a bit further so that way you can reach for it, like we see with a lot of manufacturers right now. But then again, Mazda has always focused on the safety aspect for their vehicles, so that does make sense, at least for Mazda, where they don't want you reaching for that screen. With this head unit, it is very easy to use. The resolution and quality is fantastic. And there really isn't, at least at first glance, a major difference compared to the 10.2-inch screen that you're going to find on higher trims. So if you don't really care about having all the technology at your disposal or at your fingertips, this should be more than adequate for sure. By going with the Preferred, you are going to receive a rear backup camera with trajectory. And keep in mind that on higher trims, such as the Turbo Premium Plus, which that might be a little out of budget for some of you if you are looking at a Preferred, will give you a 360-degree view camera, but this isn't much different than what you're going to find in a Premium or Turbo Premium. Beneath that, you are going to find your physical buttons and dials for your dual-zone climate control and heated front seats to go along with your AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. So you're still going to have that tactile experience here for the Mazda CX-30, which I think, again, a lot of you are most certainly looking for here. Beneath that, you will find a cubby for a smartphone. Now, on higher trims, you will receive a wireless phone charging pad, which will add some convenience here for the CX-30. You'll have your two cup holders. Then for the center console itself, gloss black trim. I know a lot of you are going to be complaining about that, but it does give the CX-30 a classy interior and a classy touch. Next to your gear shifter will be your drive mode selector for sport and normal. Next to that will be your electronic parking brake and auto vehicle hold. And then on the right side will be your volume and tuning knob, which is really nice to see here with the Mazda CX-30 having such a minimalistic interior for the dashboard. For the center storage compartment, there will be enough room for some smaller items such as a couple of smartphones, wallets, or other tech gadgets. And you'll also find two USB-C inputs. Then to round out the front seating area, above will be a moonroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior, especially with this grayish interior that we have on our model. But also that's one of the reasons why I wanted to choose the Preferred trim for this review, because that is a great feature to have on a warmer day during the summer. For passengers in the back, as you can tell, I adjusted the seat all the way back. It's also somewhat on a recline, and I have about maybe an inch or two of legroom remaining. With the CX-30, you're looking at right on 36 inches of legroom, which isn't the most practical in this market. However, with the Mazda CX-30 and how Mazda has marketed this vehicle, it's not to someone with a family. So if you do live in the city or suburbs and it's just you or a significant other, this vehicle should be more than adequate. Now, obviously, with average-sized adults, it might become a bit of a squeeze, or it might feel a little claustrophobic, especially with the lower roofline, since the CX-30 does have a hatchback-like design here. If you just have smaller adults or smaller children in the second row, and you don't have tall people in front of you, everyone should be comfortable. One thing I have noticed here across all trims for the CX-30 is that these seats do provide a lot of support and cushioning. So on those longer drives, people will not be complaining, but also they'll be nice and secure back here on those longer road trips. Also back here, you will have two rear air vents. Now, no 12-volt outlet or USB-A or USB-C input, but you are going to find a center armrest with two cup holders. With the Mazda CX-30, one of your biggest questions outside of which trim you should choose might be, should I go with the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine or 2.5-liter turbo? I don't think that answer is going to be easily found unless you drive both powertrains back to back. But even so, with the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, it is pretty smooth. A lot of vehicles in this market with naturally aspirated 4-cylinders are gasping for air. They're begging for more power, mostly because a lot of manufacturers in this market drop in CVTs. Since you have the 6-speed automatic transmission with this powertrain, it's dailyable, it's livable. Sure, when you're getting on the highway, passing slower drivers, it's not going to be the spryest vehicle out there. It's not going to be overly athletic. But for suburban driving or cruising around in the city, this engine is pretty peppy with some decent low-end torque. Obviously, again, this is not going to be a barnstorm by any stretch of the imagination. But compared to its closest rivals, the fact you don't have that CVT, I think, goes a long way and makes this crossover feel rather refined in its market. Now, better yet, though, you have a lot of creature comforts here. The leatherette seat material, the heated front seats, leather-wrapped steering wheel. You know, for a vehicle at around $30,000, I personally think that this kind of embarrasses a lot of its closest competitors. But as a daily driver, with this suspension, with this chassis, with this platform, it feels really high quality and upscale. And while I think a lot of people are going to say on the low end that with the Mazda CX-30, it's going to feel a lot like its closest competitors, mostly because of the technology, the fact you don't have a full digital gauge cluster, and this smaller 8-inch display isn't going to be the most intuitive in this market. Keep in mind that at $30,000, you're also getting all-wheel drive standard. So you're getting a lot of the intangibles right off the bat with this vehicle. Now, obviously with the CX-30, it's going to come back to interior space and overall practicality, but a lot of vehicles in this market, including the Subaru Crosstrek, are not really that large. So if you're someone who doesn't need a vehicle the size of the CX-5 or CX-50, I think you're really going to like what the CX-30 is offering here. Now for me, and this is really important out of a daily driver, is it fun to drive? Does it handle well? And Mazda always gives their vehicles some great handling characteristics, weighted steering, and even though this isn't a sports tuned suspension, you still feel a sense of connectivity to the road. And to me, that's really all you could ask for out of a vehicle in this market. Now, while we go around this rotary here, I'm going to place the CX-30 in sport mode. Let's see how it performs. Now in sport mode, I do notice that the steering input does get a bit more active here, where its agility and car-like demeanor really starts showcasing itself. Throttle response is more aggressive, but I think that if you're looking for a sportier experience, go with that 2.5 liter turbo. Like I said, on the low end, you get a decent amount of torque, so you don't really feel like this vehicle is lethargic in any way. But as you get into mid-range, that's where it's not going to be the fastest thing out there. I will say though, just like with the turbo, this engine is rather quiet. And what Mazda does really well is interior insulation. For a lot of vehicles in this market, you do hear the outside world, you hear that road noise, you hear that wind noise. The CX-30 isn't too bad. Obviously on the highway, that's a bit of a different story, but the 18-inch wheels still actually give you a lot of on-road comfort. And I do think that even in regards to that road noise, it's not too bad compared to, say, a Honda HR-V or Subaru Crosstrek. However, more noteworthy, and why I chose the Preferred trim today, is because what you have here at around $30,000 makes the CX-30 feel somewhat luxury-like. Maybe I'm using the term just a bit too loosely, because I think with the Premium Plus, the turbo models, you're getting a lot more there. You're getting the leather seats, you're getting a 360-degree camera, and other safety equipment that will make this vehicle feel on par with other crossovers at around $40,000. But at the $30,000 price point, this vehicle is quite compelling. Mostly because out of its closest competitors, you don't typically find leather at sea material at this price point. Maybe you're not going to get a moonroof. Now, I will say, though, that by going with the Premium, you do get a power liftgate. And that alone is what's going to draw a lot of people into this vehicle. And that's one convenience feature I think a lot of you definitely want to have. But even outside of those minor features, the CX-30 is really a vehicle for someone who does have lavish tastes, that wants to have a luxurious experience, but doesn't have the budget to go all out for an Audi Q3 or a BMW X1 or maybe even a Mercedes-Benz GLA. This is one of those vehicles where you could kind of settle and end up with a great daily driver that really feels like a bargain at its price point. Because a lot of subcompact crossovers, let's be honest, do leave a lot more to be desired. They have a lot on the table. And especially right now, at least in the mid-2020s, there's not a lot of vehicles at around $30,000 that are subcompact crossovers that are truly enjoyable to drive. In one way or another, you're going to find that there's something lacking that's not adequate at all for a vehicle at around $30,000. But with the Mazda CX-30, I still think this is the best choice out there. Maybe not necessarily in regards to practicality or technology, because I think the Chevrolet Trax has better technology just because you have a touchscreen. But outside of those two minor things, the CX-30 kind of has everything going for it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Mazda CX-30 Preferred. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.